there's many different ways to eat a so-called whole foods diet. And do you have a plan that works for everyone, or do you gear it towards what a person's situation is or what they're willing to do, or do you say it's this way or no way?
Well, there's somewhat of an art there in, making sure the person's ready to make the changes. You don't want to push them so hard and then run the other direction. But in the years and the decades that I've been doing this now, now that I'm past 70, um, I've actually encouraged people to move all the way and jump in with both feet and not baby step their way in. And the reason for that is the penetration and ubiquitous nature of severe food addiction. And people, if they keep having alcohol, they just want it more. If they keep having donuts and French fries and pizza, if they just never stop desiring it. And if they keep so what I'm saying is when they switch over to what I call a Nutritarian diet, based on obviously foods that are designed to maximize human longevity and prevent cancer, when they move over to that, I'm saying that if you stick with it 100%, it'll be faster that you build the taste muscle, that you stop desiring the old things, foods you think you couldn't live without. And the results you get are so miraculously sensational, it encourages you to stay on the plan. So then that's why I built my retreat here in San Diego, where people come and stay with me for a few months to get well, because it separates them with a time zone from being tempted with the foods they think they can't live without, they're so addicted to. And after they've stayed here and learned the information, then they feel more comfortable doing that when they leave. But we don't just teach them about nutritional science and nutrition. We also teach them about emotional wisdom and emotional wellness, because you need to have robust emotional health to be able to go home and be different and not succumb to the peer pressure and the social pressure to be like everybody else. I know I didn't totally answer your questions, but you're saying, how strict how do I adjust things for individuals? And my preference is to move people all the way to strict compliance, because my experience has shown less recidivism and better long-term outcomes. Because I used to think, well, when I wrote the book Eat to Live in 2004, and it was revised in 2011, it was one of my most best-selling famous books. It sold multiple millions of copies of books, you know. But I don't agree with that. I don't agree with myself, because what I said in that book, which I don't feel has held up has been the best for people, is this. It said, follow this diet really strictly for 6 weeks, see how much weight you're going to lose, how much better you're going to feel, you'll be off your diabetic medication, your high blood pressure will go away. And then you could follow it 90%. And 10% of the time you could do what you want, maybe. But that failed a lot of people, because it was the 10% that drove them back to wanting 20%, 30%, and 40%. And then they blew the whole thing and they're back to eating a standard American diet again. So in my most recent book, my most recent book is Eat for Life, I more discourage the cheating and the little going off the diet. I don't make it as acceptable. Even though Eat to Live sold so many books, I'm not convinced that that's the best way to look at it, because addiction runs so deep into their brain's neuroplasticity that allowing them to still eat unhealthily a little bit of the time just keeps lighting the fire under their desire to want more of that. Plus the fact that most people I see as a doctor are people who are sickly, and they have serious medical conditions, and they're significantly overweight. And those are the people I see. And they've eaten so unhealthily for like 60 years. And now I can't have them like fooling around with junk food a little bit at a time, because every meal counts to get them on their road to good health again. And every meal counts and every mouthful counts for the cellular structure to regenerate itself and to repair itself, to get them so they can now have a normal lifespan without serious medical problems. So I'm saying, why self-destruct? Because for recreation, because we can recreate with great tasting healthy food just as much, and we could learn. So the answer to your question is, even though I sometimes make adjustments, and even though there are individual diseases that require judgments, like there are people with celiac disease that can't eat any gluten-containing products. There are people with lupus who should not eat alfalfa sprouts or echinacea, or the people with Crohn's disease shouldn't eat nutritional yeast, and people with headaches shouldn't have bananas and avocado and onions and garlic, and people with, there are certain, modifications we make for people's diets based on various individual requirements, but it doesn't mean that I'm not giving the overall healthy Nutritarian diet, as I've defined it and called it, for most people, for the vast majority of people.